So hi, I'm Lucy Townsley, and I specialise in women's health. So I help women who are going through fertility issues, well, I hate the word fertility, who are trying for a baby and it's taken them a while to get there. Pregnancy, supporting through pregnancy, and then when you've had your baby, because I find that you're sort of on your own with this brand new baby and it can be very daunting. So I help you in that aspect of it as well. And then moving along, we will head along into perimenopause and menopause. So that's my area of expertise. And today I am joined by the amazing, wonderful Sharon Bannister. She's a biodynamic craniosacral therapist. And she also does a therapy called heart maths. So I'm going to let her explain a little bit about what she does. And she also has loads of amazing stories to tell us and share with us about her life as well. So.
Thanks for that amazing introduction. And I know that the name is absolutely rubbish. It's very convoluted. And what it boils down to is it's the original palpation skills of osteopathy. So I use my hands, it's hands-on therapy, and I help the body remind itself of its intrinsic, unique healing power and potential. So I love empowering people. We work on what we call cerebral spinal fluid and the parasympathetic nervous system. It works on many, many layers. And it's people come to you for one thing and they end up resolving loads of others and then getting inspiration, changing their job, finding they get themselves pregnant, you name it.
Wow.
Yeah. Because if you remove the stress from somebody's life, stress is the number one, disruptor, shall we say, in people's lives. And if it is left unchecked, then it can cause chronic disease or, and instability in the body. So you can't expect to get pregnant if you're running around stressed out of your brains, because the body thinks, oh my God, more stress. And it'll just get rid of whatever's the latest stress. So you won't be able to carry full term if you're stressed and run down.
It's very true, actually. That's very true. Yeah, I have a nurse that has come to me 3 times now through each pregnancy, obviously 3 times. But the first time she came to me, she was working so hard, flat out. And I was like, please just take it easy, because you're going to find your delivery incredibly hard, because you actually need energy to deliver your baby. And back in ancient times, you did your 4 weeks confinement before delivery, and I think that was such a great thing to do.
Well, you were a queen, weren't you? And in tribes, they don't let the baby touch the ground for 3 months. It's got all its immune system, up to scratch with the mother after breastfeeding. So yeah, you're treated like a queen bee, and people wait on you. So
yeah, completely.
I don't think women realize it's the miracle that they are the person that will carry this life forward, and to just respect that time to nurture yourself, because the baby is growing at such a phenomenal rate inside you. You need nourishment and support as well.
That's very true. It is incredibly true. And we, as in our life now, maternity leave, you want maternity at the other side, so you're minding your baby, but it's actually just as important before you have those 4 weeks before that you rest, so as the delivery becomes easier.
Actually, you're right, because even in Chinese medicine years ago when I was studying shiatsu, I mean, it's all your constitution. If you want to get pregnant, you better check your diet, your exercise, your mental well-being, and your partners before you even start to try. But in the West, people don't even think about that.
No, they reckon in Chinese medicine exactly 3 months preparing before you have your baby, 3 months of getting yourself as healthy as you can. It's what they call prenatal chi. It's the energy before. So it's that energy that comes from you and your partner that you actually give to your baby, and that's what helps them grow and develop into a strong baby, essentially. And then when they're born, then it becomes different, but that's the prenatal chi that they bring along. Yeah, and you're right, stress is a huge factor that comes into it.
Totally.
And also the other thing I really agree on is the 4th trimester. That's another element that's coming into pregnancy now is when you have your baby. And it was recommended by another client of mine, actually through a midwife, which was the best advice she could give her, was to rest for 2 weeks after her baby was born, to lie in bed for 2 weeks and
Absolutely, because your pelvis is completely moved, because people don't realize they can't just go run off into the gym or get that weight off, whatever. No, it's a time for nurturing and adjustment. I do get a lot of women coming as soon as they can get out of the house, because obviously it's a big shock when you've got a new little being in front of you. And or I might do a home visit occasionally now, and you literally hear a clunk sometimes when the pelvis goes back, and it doesn't hurt, but your body's moved and all the organs have had to move up. You know, that's why you can't eat very much, because everything's being shunted up. You know, if you look at the anatomy of how the body changes during your stages, and it's just to support women. And you know, you've got the massive hormonal changes as well. And the funny thing is, if there's somebody phones me up and says, oh, my baby's not settled, I think, how settled are you? So let's focus on you. As soon as you settle them, the baby's fine.
Yeah, it is true, actually. The odd time they do need to seek help for the baby. Most of the time it's the anxiety from, it's I never forget, actually, when I left hospital with my first baby, Hannah. She's 25 now, and they don't do this anymore, but they actually walked her out of the hospital with us. And I remember me holding my arms out like this and them putting her in my arms, and I was like, okay, what do I do now? They've let us out of the hospital with my new baby. So it's very scary. There's no booklet or anything that comes with them. You're just sent home and away you go. Yeah,
that's frightening, I'm sure.
Very frightening. Yeah, she survived. I got her to 25, so I think I've done quite good. Yeah, it is. It's very daunting when that happens, and then you know all the different stages that they go through, learning and growing up.
And I mean, I get a lot of young mums just had their first baby, sometimes after great difficulty, or it might be somebody who's been a businesswoman. They've had the baby suddenly, they've managed to conceive and have the baby, then they're in a total panic. You know, and it's just calming them down, just creating a say, you're doing fine, and to reassure them. It's to give them reassurance. They think they're doing everything wrong, or sometimes you'll get the classic situation of the mother-in-law or the partner's mother interfering, where they just need space to make their own little routine. I said, the baby will be fine if you get into a routine. Just get into your routine. The baby's fine, you know. But I remember when I was assisting on a course of midwives with a very famous craniosacral practitioner who had been a doula as well. She actually had somebody come in, and this poor little one had gone through all the worst possible scenarios, and it was actually in like a papoose around the partner, the male partner, and but both the couple were traumatized, really traumatized. And what we soon realized was the couple were re-traumatizing the baby, because the baby actually has very big coping mechanisms. And as long as it feels safe afterwards, it will gradually unravel all the things that have happened, you know, if you get to a practitioner. So what I noticed he did, first she dealt with acknowledging the trauma of the couple. And as she talked to the couple and they started to relax and calm down, the baby started to unfurl like a little flower, you know, because it's all screwed up like this. And it started, before she put hands on the baby. And that was the biggest lesson I learned, was like, don't let them re-traumatize the trauma, you know. And the baby, it's really interesting to watch the dynamics.
And is that something that you would treat trauma when you say that?
That's what I focus on mainly. Especially now with the situation of the extra pressure of that people find themselves in different unusual situations. It can trigger a lot of post-traumatic stress, whether you're a frontline worker. I do quite a few medics and nurses, social workers that have experienced some pretty awful things. Just to people not, you know, they've just been thrown in extraordinary situations where suddenly you're having to work, deal with children, you can't go somewhere, you can't, you know, they haven't got you haven't got the grandparents to help you, and they're thrown, and they've got to suddenly deal with all these different things, and that can be really overwhelming. So it's just like calming the situation down. And what I always say to my clients is, okay, the whole picture seems overwhelming, but what can you do? Just start with the smallest thing that you can control immediately around you and work from there.
Mm-hmm.
And if you can calm yourself down, then gradually it's got a ripple effect, you know. Yeah, but it can be very overwhelming.
Can be. I think as women, and I would be guilty of this as well, we tend to put everything else first. If there's a list of work, family, relationship, and ourselves, most of us would be at the bottom of the pile.
Absolutely. Because that's ingrained in us. And instead of doing what all the flight attendants say, which is put your own oxygen mask on first before you go to help your toddler. And of course, we forget that completely. And I'm just as guilty as anybody else, you know, save the world. And then you have to think, actually, no, self-care is the most important thing.
It is the most important thing. And what would be a really good tip for your self-care? What would you, if you had a patient coming in who was really traumatized, what would you tell them to do?
Right. First of all, I would slow my voice down. And I'd say, well, sometimes I've had somebody so traumatized, but really having a really challenging situation. I couldn't even speak to them. I knew what I had to do. I just had to hold her and hug her. That's all I needed to do. And I could feel when the body started to relax. And then I gave her space. And I said, okay, sit down, have some water, breathe. And usually if you can, breath is one of the few things you can control. If you're having a real anxiety attack, breath work is one of the things you can control. So you can really change the dynamics of how you're feeling just with breath work. So even just in for 4, hold for 4, exhale for 4. In through the nose, out through the mouth. And that can really, really transform and change something immediately. In fact, on my website, I've got a 7-page PDF, the free downloadable PDF. And I did it at the beginning of COVID, just to help people. Are you feeling like this? Are you feeling like that? Don't worry, you're not going mad. These are the symptoms of stress. And this is what you can do about it. And this is what's happening inside your body. So you not think, I'm not going mad. This is a real thing, you know.
I think that's really important because, when we are anxious or stressed out, sometimes we can think that we're the only ones who feel like that. So I think it's hugely important that everyone has a certain element of stress and anxiety in their lives. But sometimes, if you're in the middle of that huge anxiety attack, I would find that if you're telling someone to breathe, it can be they can't breathe because that was part of it.
But that's why I do it with them. Like I'm in there. So it's you've got to find the right vocabulary to use when you're with that person as well, so that they can, that they're getting it. Because otherwise, if you're in panic, everything shuts down. You can literally see the body shutting down when people start to panic, and you have to just go, okay, we're here. Can you feel, it's the felt sense. Can they feel their arms? Can they feel their legs? It's getting them back, to feel the felt sense. Sometimes people are so traumatized, they're just not in their bodies.
I've heard that before, out of body experiences, type of thing.
Yeah, and the thing is, that's the body's way of protecting itself. So don't just bring somebody back. You have to do it very gently. It's like I say to my students, it's a bit like a Coca-Cola bottle shaken up. You're not just going to open the lid. You're just going to go. So you just gently, gradually help the body to regulate itself. So that's why you work on the parasympathetics. There's lots of amazing points, palpation points, that you can just help the body. The body can literally do, if you think of a computer doing a reboot and a defrag, So it sorts all the little files out. So your parasympathetic nervous system can literally scan the body and work out what it needs to do and reorganize itself. And the difference, somebody could be talking like this, blah, 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 and I've got my hands on the specific points of the body. And in mid-sentence, they just go, and they've gone. And that's great, because then the body goes, oh, thank God, got them out of the way. Now we can get on with things, you know. It's
That's
wonderful. It's just wonderful to have people come in so stressed, and some of the time so rude as well. And they go out and they go, I feel so relaxed. I said, that's what you're meant to feel? That, oh my God, because I get sent husbands or wives, you know, you get one and the other partner, please do my partner, you know. No, it's wonderful. And even when you don't get thanked when somebody's not in pain anymore, it just, you know, when it's okay, you know. I don't want to have people coming forever and ever and ever. I just, you know, I love it when they just disappear, and I think, yeah, it's done.
That's always very job satisfaction, isn't it? When you've got them to a point where they don't need to come back again, and stuff.
And this will top up, you know, now and again, or, you know, they've got something happening in their life that's positive sometimes. But it's about, I love empowering people and helping them to reconnect and understand what's going on in the body, because so often people have the stomach's working properly. They go, oh, I'm so sorry. And I go, but your stomach's meant to do that.
Yeah, the gurgling is a big thing. I would have that in my clinic as well, and they would be apologizing for the gurgling tummy. I'm like, that's a really good healthy sound, it's good. You need that.
And so I found that when I'm working with people and things start happening, I try to explain what I'm feeling, and so then they know that's something positive. So when they feel it by themselves, because when they're in a semi-relaxed state going to sleep, say, and they find their body's twitching, and they then, oh, that my body's doing this now, then it's like helping to educate people as well, you know. So I find bodies fascinating. We're very asking a party, it's like doctor situation. So when I ask you, I go, oh, I play with bodies. But obviously I do a lot more than that.
That's brilliant.
You know, but you could really make a difference. Just you know, even just smiling at somebody and saying thank you, a bit of gratitude, that can transform their day. If they've had a horrific, especially bus drivers in London, they go through hell, you know. And it's just tolerance and creating that pause. You've got a multitude of choices to how to respond to something. Why just go and be reactive? You're wasting your energy. The moment you get reactive to someone, you've given away all your energy to that person and ignited a big negative, you know, ball of gunk.
That's true, actually, isn't it? If you kind of go at them with fire, you're creating that negative energy. And it's hard now, I think, you know, like the smiling thing is really important. But with the masks now, it makes it a little harder. So now I'd say, I actually verbalize it now. I go, I am smiling under my mask. Because they know that I'm smiling at them. Because yeah, you're right, that it is more, people do need to smile more. There's all this thing about changing the world, doing all these massive things, but if you can make those small changes, like smiling at someone every day, saying hello, good morning, it just could brighten somebody's day up.
Just to acknowledge that they are there, they are human, they're present. It's a huge thing, you know, people serving you food or whatever. I think too much we're being dehumanized by, you know, the mask, the this, the that, and it's so, oh, have you been vaxxed? No, let's get back to being a human, and we're human beings. We need to communicate and
that is very true. So obviously, I also deal with women with menopause and stuff. How would your work help anybody who's having difficulty in that area?
Oh, absolutely. It really, really does help, because you're in a roller coaster of emotions. So that, number one, that can really help ease you through that transition. And it's a very long time ago, when I was going through my menopause, I'm showing my age, a dear friend said to me, think of it as a rite of passage. If you were in a tribe, it would be a rite of passage. You'd be then becoming the wise woman. So once I got my head around that, okay, I'd lost one thing, but I was transitioning into something completely different. So that really helped. I use obviously natural things. So I was having acupuncture, and I was having Chinese herbs and things like that to help. But with cranio, it can help immensely. I do get a lot of mature ladies coming, and not so mature nowadays, because you know, sometimes people can have onset of early menopause, which is quite distressing. And to really help the system calm down and stay active if necessary. You know,
this is something that I'm not sure actually. If you, I've had a craniosacral myself, and I found it very good. Does craniosacral, because another issue that comes up a lot is for women, and funny enough, I was talking to my sister about it this morning, is pelvic floor.
Oh yes, yeah.
That's a big problem with women. You know, as we age, it becomes. You know that
I mean, obviously we're very lazy, because the French are horrified that we don't do certain pelvic exercises, and I hold my hand up there. I've had to do exercise, and I'm going to go back to doing them, because I had a very bad accident when I was 28, and I was paralyzed from the waist down. So that is a weak area for me. So I have to continually work and do exercises to keep my muscles toned, you know, to help me. But definitely, because it's getting the muscles to fire up as well. So if you're supporting the nervous system of the body to communicate properly, and the thing is, if you think of your spine as a river, if you're not moving, you're very sedentary, because we're all sitting in front of computers more now and everything, or you're not doing so much exercise because we've been locked down or whatever, or the groups that used to go to, you can't do. What's happening is things are silting up. So once things silt up, you know, the beautiful cerebral spinal fluid can't flow so much. The communication system of the body is like, it's getting a more like Morse code or old-fashioned dial-up. And I said, we need streaming. So, you know, whatever language you want to use, I try to find language that people can understand. So that's what we're doing. We're going to, you know, remind the body to communicate properly. And then when it starts to respond, I say, oh, great, it's starting to wake up. Because then you can get the muscles firing up again, because otherwise they just atrophy. If, you know, you say if you don't use it, you lose it.
That is so true. That's really, really true. I thank God that you're okay after your traumatic accident when you were 28.
Oh, it was awful. The physical recuperation in the hospital wasn't so bad. It's all the physio afterwards, and the psychological impact of hitting his spine is, it's crazy.
It is. It's a hard one. I did something similar to you. I broke my back in a fall when I was 23, I think, 22, 23. And and every day the same thing. I know if I don't stretch and move my back, something like Pilates, yoga, or just following something online, or I can feel it. It stiffens up. So movement 100% does help.
And also you're quite fit. So if you've done, I mean, I was doing ballet, I was doing Aikido, I've got very, very powerful muscles. If I don't do exercise, and I'm talking to myself here because I know I put my hands up, I have to get back into a good routine, not just sporadic. If I get stressed, I'll pull something and then I'm in trouble. And I know I'm in trouble. And I just can't risk it.
Yeah, because stress does actually weaken your muscles. I don't think people, well, it's something that I had to understand myself, that when you get stressed, that's when you can tweak your back or quicken your neck or freeze your shoulder, something like that happens. Yeah, it's true. So I have one more question for you. Tell me about heart math.
Heart math. I got introduced to that quite a while back. And I'm so glad I did, because I was going through a very challenging time in my life. And although I was doing very well in many areas, I'd hidden anxiety, if you like. We tend to suppress it a lot when we're women. We'd help everybody else, but inside we're anxious. And I thought I was doing pretty well. And then I went on a course. I had an actual coach, and it was transformative, because what I'd realized was I'd had incredible coping mechanisms to deal with post-traumatic stress from my past life as growing up as a child, and a couple of other things that I'd experienced early on in my life, and carried on as normal, and piling on all the little bits and pieces on top. And it's a real challenge for my body and my system. And when you have heart math and you start, it's like coherent breathing. So you're taught a certain way of breathing. You can also have a little app on your phone, and you have a gadget. So it actually measures your heart, and you can see visually when you're in a good state, so that your body is working its best possible way and healing itself as well. So you're not piling things on top. And the best way he explained it was, he was an ex-veteran. So he'd been in Afghanistan, Iraq, and everything. He said, Sharon, I know how I felt when I came back from war, and it took me 2 years to recover. You had literally 60 years of trauma, and you haven't dealt with it. So don't expect to have the same results as somebody just popping in that's just, had an okay life, But it's a brilliant, non-intrusive way through breath work. And you can do it by yourself. You can do it sitting on a plane, anywhere. Nobody knows what you're doing, And it really has a dramatic positive effect on the body for calming and regulating the body. So you're coherent. So you're coming from a very centered, coherent way, instead of just being reactive to your life. So it's something I've started to introduce to my clients in between sessions, because I've always wanted to know what they're doing. What's their support mechanism? So for me, it's teamwork. It's not just me. I don't want to be treated like an aspirin. A very expensive aspirin if it was like that. But, I want them to be successful. I want them to have tools that they can take away and just, really go for it.
Oh, that's great. That sounds amazing. So I know I forgot to say you're based in London. So what I'll do is I'll share the link for the PDF that you recommended, and the link that if anyone wants to contact you to have a treatment would be great, because I know you're brilliant at what you do.
Oh,
thank you.
They can
so much for your time.
It's just to message me on WhatsApp or things like that. The numbers on the website,
Okay.
And it's fine.
Perfect. So I will let them, I'll put all that info up as well under this video, so everything is there for you. And also, if you'd like to join me on any of my menopause courses, they're available there, and I'll share that link as well. And don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel. Sorry,
I think what you're doing is so invaluable, because we're sort of a forgotten group of people. It's so important, because we've got all the wisdom, and then your body starts to do weird things to you. So people need support, really do need support. And I think what you're doing is brilliant, Lucy.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome.
Well, thanks, Pete, for being an amazing speaker and a guest here on the Menopause Transformation YouTube channel. That's been amazing. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Welcome.
And I will have to get you back again so we can hear your menopause story. That would be fab.
Oh, yeah, we've got plenty of stories.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.